Good evening, everyone. I am Amberlyn Esperanza, board member of Propel, and I am delighted to welcome you to tonight's event. Let's see here. Tonight's event, Journey to a Multicultural Workplace. Tonight, we will have exciting conversations with new Mainers and Hope Acts. We will hear from new Mainers as they reflect on their journeys into the Maine workforce to date. Propel is thrilled to host this event. And for those who are new to Propel, we are a community chamber under the Portland Regional Chamber of Commerce, developing opportunities for young professionals to thrive in the Portland business community. Propel is changing the rules for young people in Maine by helping them to connect both on and offline. Be sure to follow Propel on social media and subscribe to our newsletter for news and upcoming events. I will be posting my email in the chat if you have any questions or you want to connect and have any questions on Propel. I now have the pleasure of introducing Hope Acts Executive Director, Martha Stein. Martha Stein was on the board of Hope Acts for 2 years before becoming Executive Director, a role she served in for the last 4 years. Martha worked for Fortune 500 companies for first half of her career and then switched to the nonprofit sector after over 15 years ago. Martha, we are so happy to have you here tonight, and I will turn it over to you to tell us more about Hope Acts.
Thank you so much, Amberlyn and Matthew and the folks, everyone at Propel and the Portland Chamber for organizing this event and hosting this event tonight. We're so happy to be here talking with all of you. And as Matthew said, really encouraging people to make connections. And we're happy to facilitate those connections if you don't get to make them during this event. So a little bit about Hope Acts. Hope Acts focuses our services on asylum seekers who are relatively new to the US and to the greater Portland community. Asylum seekers, for those who don't know, are legally present individuals who have fled their home countries because of persecution, fear of persecution. Unlike many immigrant designations you might hear, such as refugees and asylees, asylum seekers do not receive any support from the federal government. Hope Acts offers housing, English classes, and what we call our Asylum Seeker Assistance Program. And that is individualized help for asylum seekers looking to access resources in the community. Since the start of the pandemic, we've assisted over 400 clients in meeting their basic needs. Our English program has enrolled over 250 students from 25 different countries. And just last week, we announced an exciting new partnership with the YMCA to offer, to go back to in-person English classes at the Y and to collaborate together to continue to build a welcoming, multicultural community in our Parkside neighborhood of Portland. So back to our ASAP program, one of the things we do, which I think might be of interest to folks listening tonight, is we help asylum seekers successfully complete their federal work permit applications. Federal law prevents asylum seekers from working in the US until they obtain a work permit. And since the start of the pandemic, we have processed over 1,200 work permits for people who come to our office. So these are people who are just about to start their new job or folks who need to do a renewal, which is every 2 years. As everyone here knows, Maine needs workers. New immigrants want to work and they need to work. So this is a win-win situation for Maine, for immigrants and for the economy of our state. In this brief time we have together tonight, I hope you will learn, ask questions, and think about next steps you can take to be part of this journey to create a multicultural workplace. So before we hear from our 3 panelists, I'd like to introduce Rashna Bhatia, a new Hope Acts board member. Rashna is Director of Business Development and Community Outreach at Infinity Credit Union. She's led the transformation for the way multicultural Mainers bank, making resources easier to access and building a foundation of trust along the way. Through her lived experience as an immigrant in Maine and her years building a multicultural workplace, Rashna is a great resource to others looking to take steps towards building a multicultural workplace. And we are so thrilled that Rashna joined our board this year. She's been doing outreach at Hope Acts for years, and now she's on our board. So I will turn it over to Rashna.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you for this opportunity. Good evening, everyone. And thanks to Matthew and Amberlynn for organizing this for us. I currently work at Infinity Credit Union, but my journey started about 20 years back when I moved from India to Maine. And I have always lived in Maine. I have never lived anywhere else. So after moving here, I started working as a part-time teller at a local financial institution here in Portland. And since then, I worked in few different roles with different local banks until I was hired by Infinity about 7+ years back. So as I was learning, I was new to the culture here. So as I was learning about the culture here in the communities, I soon realized that I love to build relationship with people. I love interacting with people who are from different background and cultures. It's very fascinating to me how people from different parts of the world come together and they live together and they build their own community. I then took initiative and interest in finding a lot of commonalities to start having conversations with them, get to know them. I genuinely wanted to assist them with their banking needs. And I also wanted to share with them about my background and where I am from and what are my interests. So from then to now at Infinity, I work as a director of community outreach and business development. I work with a lot of ethnic and multicultural leaders who lead different nonprofit organizations because at Infinity, our goal is to offer financial wellness sessions to our multicultural communities so that they feel future ready, so they are independent and confident. In our Baxter branch, we have hired over 5-6 different individuals from these communities who speak 17 different languages. So we did this because we wanted our members to to feel comfortable and understood, and we wanted them to feel at home. So currently, Infinity is, doing financial wellness sessions with organizations like Salvation Army, in her presence, ICC, Portland Adult Ed. I offer these financial wellness sessions virtually and in person with a team of my members who speak different languages. So we want to educate, enable, and empower individuals from different communities, whether they are, doing their personal banking, or they want to start a new business, or they are dreaming of buying a new home for the first time. So, and also to educate them on the basics and help them understand how banking works here. And I recently joined the board of Hope Acts. I feel very fortunate to be a part of this organization. So thank you, Martha, and all the Hope Acts board members. I'm really enjoying working with you all, and thank you for welcoming me. The reason I am I'm enjoying this work is because what Hope Acts does, what Infinity does, and what my passion is, they are all aligned, where I see, people coming off from different walks of life, coming together to help our diverse communities. So this is something I've always enjoyed. I just found a great platform through my work at Infinity and now at Hope Acts to be able to assist people with their banking needs and educate them. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Rashna. I'd like to introduce our first panelist, Andy. Andy is a benefits specialist at Unum. We first met him around 5 years ago when he volunteered as a teaching assistant at Hope House in our Hope House English language program. Andy holds a degree in commerce and economics from the University of Kinshasa in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and he's working towards his MBA. Andy has global business experience, and he's always taking on new challenges. We're thrilled that Andy joined our board in 2019, and I'm happy to introduce him to you now. Andy?
Thank you, Marta. It's an absolute pleasure for me to be here. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Amberlyn, for this opportunity. So it's really for me, a great, I take great pride in being able to do this work in partnership, the partnership with Hope Act. But before I had the opportunity to do that, I had a little bit of a journey when my family and I first we moved to Maine, to the US on Christmas Day in 2016. So as a husband, and I had 3 girls and my wife, my concern was always, will I be able to find a decent job, and how would it be possible for me to utilize my transferable skills in this new country, new work environment? I had my doubt. And at the time, it was really challenging because it was the winter time. There weren't many opportunities around. So, but long story short, and that was my immediate goal. So I was really concerned about that, and I began looking around, and basically I came in contact whilst I was waiting for my work permit to be issued. I decided to start volunteering and at Hope Acts, and that was because I felt like it was a way for me to occupy my time, but also to learn what was basically the business culture in the US, and learn about all the opportunities that were there to learn. So between February 2017 and July 2017, volunteered at Hope Act as a teaching assistant. And then I went on to volunteer at the Independent Transportation Network in Westbrook between July and October 2017. And immediately after my work permit was issued, I went on to join Spectrum Enterprises. It's a company. At the time, it was located in Cape Elizabeth. They're now in South Portland in a mall. But the work was really like, income evaluation for low income housing program, and joined them as an analyst. And that was until the month of June of 2018 when I joined Unum. Great experience at Unum. Where I am now a member of the Employee Resource Group, Inclusion Diversity, and our goal at the ERG, that's the Employee Resource Group, is to promote racial equity to all employees of color. In January of 2019, then joined the board of Hope Act. Like I said, when I began my speech, I take great pride in the work that this organization does, and providing assistance to new Mainers. For me, it's a way to give back to my community, and it's absolute pleasure for me to be here and share my experience.
Thank you, Andy. I'd also like to add that Andy and several members of the Unum Employee Resource Group, it's changed its name a few times, came to Hope House a few times to do kind of informal Q&A around the American workplace, and they did some practice job interviews with people and just had some great conversations. So we're hoping when we get out of this pandemic that we can do that again, and we'd also love to have any other employers come and visit with us. So thank you, Andy. So next I'm going to introduce Rosaline. She's a certified nursing assistant. She takes classes at SMCC towards nursing. She's hoping to become a nurse. Rosaline volunteered at Hope House as a language translator for quite a long time. And she actually then, when we finally had an opening, she moved into our building. So she lived at Hope House from the middle of 2019 until January of 2021. She did a tremendous amount of volunteering for us while she lived at Hope House. And she also writes a column for Amjambo Africa, which, if you don't know, is a fabulous paper and online resource to learn about the immigrant community in Maine. And Rosaline often provides great commentary on similarities and differences in cultures, education, and politics between the US and her home country, the Republic of Congo, which sometimes is referred to as Congo Brazzaville, which is a different country than the Democratic Republic of Congo. So thank you, Rosalind, for being here tonight and sharing your story with us.
Thank you, Marta. And I'd like to thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you to Hope Act and all its partners for organizing this night. I actually came to this country on March 2019. I did have some English, but I needed to improve. So I quickly joined adult education, where I took all the classes that I could possibly take. I was working down there during the entire winter of 2019 toward 2020, and I was so excited. And my CASAS test, the one that we do at adult education, just to know which level we are in English. So it set me on level 300. So I was eligible to take all the college professional classes that were given at adult education. So I took advantage of all those classes. And then I decided to go into a healthcare program. Just to mention that I was a teacher back home. I used to teach in middle school, and I was doing that for 8 years before I was forced to get out of my country, unfortunately. So I also took some accountant and computer classes at adult education. I took a job class after that, and I recently just graduated with my healthcare office and patient service certificate from adult education. So after joining PAE, I was introduced to Hope House, as Marta just mentioned, where I came to work as a volunteer, helping with the language, interpreting, and sometimes translation. And I then took a training on community interpretation with the House of Languages, where I was also working as a volunteer, because at that time I didn't have my work permit yet, so I was not allowed to work there. And you know, the Lingala the language Lingala is very in demand right now because of so many people in our community speak that language, and we do not have enough of interpreters that can serve on that side. So during the pandemic, or when the pandemic lockdown started, I was already enrolled into my CNA class. And then the class was actually transferred into the online because we couldn't meet in person in the beginning of March 2020. So I was at the same time working as an aide at Seaside. So Seaside is a nursing home. It's a rehabilitation center that was providing the CNA course. So for me to be allowed into the CNA classes, I needed to work there as an aide. So I didn't see any inconvenience because I really needed to get into the workforce. And even though the pandemic was there, even though people maybe would choose to stay home at that time, but I didn't hesitate, because for me, I thought it was the right time to get actually into the healthcare. That was the right time, the perfect time where people needed help, where people needed to go out there and help other vulnerable people who couldn't do anything for themselves. So I was very, very happy to actually get into a CNA class. And I'm so thankful for the workplace, to the workplace communication classes that I took at adult education. I'm so thankful for the job class, because the work environment here, I think it's somehow very different from the cultural work environment that I was used to. So maybe if I did not take those classes, it would have been very, very challenging for me. And I had some hard time just to navigate through this new style. And on top of that, I enrolled at SMCC in last spring into the nursing. I'm actually taking classes as a pre-nursing student, but I'm working towards my nursing degree. So I really appreciate all the support that coming along Hope Act, people in the community who are trying to do the best to bring some assistance to the people, to new Mainers, people like myself, to navigate this new life and also to have some dreams and also work hard towards making our dreams come or become real. So I'm very grateful and thank you one more time.
Thank you so much, Rosaline. Rosaline just actually started interpreting on Wednesdays at our work permit clinic at Hope House. So that's where we help people do complete the zillions of papers they need to fill out so they can get a work permit and legally work in the US. So today, Rosaline was translating and holding babies because their parents had a lot of paperwork to fill out. So we had a lot of babies in today. And we're so grateful to Rosaline for coming back and giving back to us. And also because she wants to be a nurse in Maine, and we desperately need nurses in this state. Our final panelist in this chat tonight is Innocent. Innocent is employed by Infinity Credit Union. He's originally from the DRC. He lived at Hope House when he first arrived in the US in 2018, and he moved out of our building in 2019. Innocent joined our board of directors in 2021. He's the first former Hope House resident to sit on our board, which I am absolutely thrilled about. Innocent holds a bachelor's degree in finance from University, I'm gonna maybe not get this right, Libre de Pas de Grand Lac, I hope. And if I didn't say that right, you can correct that. So I'd like to turn the mic over to Innocent.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Martha. So the name is Université Libre de Pays de Grand Lac. So first, let me start by acknowledging the organizers of this panel. Let me also say how glad I am to have received this invitation to be present with you this evening and to share with you my job hunting experience in this country. I would not be where I am today if I didn't have enough courage and determination to work harder in order to move toward the right direction to achieve my career goal. It became easier and feasible when I found that there were some non-profit organizations such as the General Assistance, Hope Act, Prosperity Man, Adult Education, who could assist me to achieve my goals. In fact, when I became into this country in May 2018, I had no idea on how or where to start until I met a guy from the Congolese community who took me to Hope House for English class registration. I can say it took me more than 2 years taking intensive English classes at both Hope House and Adult Education. I knew that it shouldn't not get easy, and I wouldn't get any job if I don't work on my writing, reading, listening, and speaking English skills. So once I realized that my English proficiency was getting better, I told myself that it was time for me to find a job that matches my background. At the time, I was doing production job just to make sure I'm paying my bills on time. I started with a networking programs, so trying to connect with different people working in accounting firms, banks, and in other businesses, just to see if I could find a connection. So in 2020, I completed a bank teller program at Portland Adult Education. But when I finished, I was getting, it was just rejection after rejection. And so I tried to apply for a job in almost all banks and credit union in Maine, but no one wanted to take me. I didn't know why. So I went back to Hope Acts and I explained to Martha the way I was getting rejected. And so she was also astonished about that. And she devised that maybe I could work on some other stuff. Then she connected me with Thomas. Thomas is a guy who helped me to revise my resume. And after that, she suggested that I could polish my English. So she tried to contact my former home English teacher, Sarah, if she was available to help me working on that. And the answer, she said yes. So we worked with Sarah, and we were still working on our pronunciation when I get a third position at Infinity Credit Union, where I am working today with Rashina. I can say I'm really proud of myself when I am assisting members with their financial need, financial transaction, and providing financial education to them. I know that I did not yet achieve my goal 100%, but I know that I am on the right path. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Innocent. Like Rosaline, when Innocent lived at Hope House, he was volunteering all the time. And also, like Rosaline, I think he took every class that Portland Adult Ed offered and constantly worked to learn as much as he possibly can. And I'm so pleased that you're at Infinity and also on our board. Thank you to all of our panelists for sharing their stories. I'm going to turn the mic back over to Matthew.
You know, Amberlynn, I've got a question. Oh, actually, okay. You know what? I see a hand up from Sally. Sally, go ahead and unmute if you want.
Hi, Sally.
Sorry, I couldn't find myself for a minute. So today I spent an hour doing a practice interview with a student. I teach English at Hope House. And one of the things I noticed that were very difficult for her to answer were two questions that are kind of the same. One is, tell me about a challenge in your previous job and how you were able to fix that challenge. And the other question that was very difficult was, what is your greatest strength and your greatest weakness? And I'm wondering if the panelists Or if there are some employers here, if you could talk about the correct answers to those questions.
And another.
May I talk?
Hi, Odette. Are you talking?
Yes.
Hi, Odette.
Hi. So I'm not a panelist and I'm not an employer, but I would like to jump in just because I have some sort of experience in that question. So one of the reasons most of the time it is harder for us to answer that question is, I would say it is a little bit of a cultural barrier, but at the same time, it is we don't know exactly what they're meaning by that. So let me make it clear if I can. So let's say, for example, someone asked me if how I handled a patient that is getting too agitated. I wouldn't necessarily see it like it was a strength, although it is a strength, because being able to kind of stay calm and then make the patient becomes also calmer, it's some sort of strength. And an employer would like to see or to hear that, but I don't necessarily see it when I'm doing it like a real strength. I just see it like something that is normal for me to do because it is part of the job. And also it's not really like something I invented or I mastered. It's just like a normal thing. It just was just the thing to do at that time. So when you're asking people to remember that specific time and say it in the situation of interview, they need more practice with situations like that so they can remember it and say it the next time. So that is, oh, I forgot to turn my, so that was me.
I can jump in and add a little bit to that. I'm going to use a real life experience in my line of job. I speak and deal with insured people all the time, and basically, we administer insurance policies, the disability policies, and there are customer reward programs where they recognize the work well done. And one of those is something called the Voice of the Customer Award. What that is, if you had a great, successful relationship or you establish rapport with a customer, an insured person, you may request them to put in a good word for you. There's a portal where someone can go in and say, hey, I had this interaction with Andy, and he was great. He did XYZ for me, and hence really recommend it. If you guys have any sort of reward, please remember to do that for him, etc. Needless to say, in my nearly 4 years at Unum, I've never won that. I never had that. It wasn't until 2 years ago I understood that how people got the Voice of customers reward, because I always consider I had a very difficult claimants today. We started off on it's an ongoing claim. I didn't begin with the customer. I had a horrible experience with someone before. I had to take over, and I'm not putting myself out there. I'm the best. I don't think I am. But it was a difficult situation, but we ended up, in the end, it was a great, I established rapport with this person. I don't feel that I need to tell them to put in a word. I just feel it's part of my job. Someone would look at it and say, oh, that's perhaps one of your strengths. I don't look at it that. I don't tally the number of times with people where I had this great successful relationship. If it does happen, if they do think to do that, that's great. But I think it's unethical from where I stand, from a culture, to even tell someone, hey, did this great stuff for you. Remember to put in a good word for me. I just feel it's off. And I'll agree for that. because a lot of the time there are areas where I can, but in my line of work, I feel I have a commitment to do, it's kind of a contract, right? I have this moral obligation to deliver service, and that's it. So I think that's it's a cultural, divide that maybe for better or worse, but that's one of the challenges that's maybe out there.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Odette and Sally. Appreciate that. We have another question from Tobin in the chat. Once you gained work authorization, what was your biggest challenge in finding work in Maine? Are there any specific resources you wished were available during your job search?
If I want to answer the questions, personally, because of the high demand in CNA position, maybe after taking the class, employment coming just has the consequence of being in that course. I haven't had hard time finding a job, but I've been surrounded, in contact with other friends, other fellows in the community who are having until now a hard time finding a job. I think one of the challenge is the language first, because they have the skills, maybe they have them in their own language, it might be in French, in Portuguese, or in Lingala. They don't know how to express themselves. Some people do not have resumes, like they have nothing, no resume to maybe send to the, wherever they get an offer, or they might find some resources in the community how they can have their resume done, but sometimes they didn't keep track of all the information, experiences that they had before. But mostly the language will be the problem. Some employers do not allow them to go in the interview with an interpreter. They say, if you can communicate, how would you want us to hire you? But the person has all the skills. They can be a great asset for the company, but they don't give them the benefit of doubt, if I can call that so, because they can speak perfectly English the way they want them to. So that is one of the big issue why people are having a hard time to get the job. And with the pandemic, it hasn't been any easier with the online. Everything is online. Some people never used computer before, even though they used to work. They never used computer, or they were never exposed to the online stuff like the way we are now. So that is one of the other barriers that I can name.
Rosalind, and thank you, Tobin, for your question.
I can add to that. So it's true. The language is the biggest barrier once you are like coming from a non-English speaking country. There is a part, like if I take in Africa where I come from, there is a part where in their country they do speak English. When they come here, they are okay. They don't have enough problem. There are another part they speak French, another part they speak Portuguese. So when you come in, and your first language is or French or Portuguese, so you got many, I think, different barriers according to the language. So when even you get the work permit, so the first challenge you get is what job am I going to do? So you don't know which job that will allow you to use your I think your language, the language that you have, and you will find yourself sometime in a production job. We are doing something that will take you maybe 12 hours. But because if you can tell the truth, when we come here, behind us, we just leave charges, people who are maybe watching on us. So you have to work to provide for them. And once you get that work permit, you start that job, so it's over. Then you will you can go out there and meet someone. He been living here for maybe 10 years, but cannot introduce himself in English. Because once he get the work permit, the first job, it was the production. We go there, work for 12 hours. When he got home, he's tired, he go to bed. So he keep doing this, doing this. And there is no evolution to that. The other thing, the other challenge that you get is when you are applying on a position, so maybe some like employers have doubt. They don't trust you. They say, maybe if I hire this guy, I will get maybe trouble, problems. So, or he will take me long time for training and other stuff. So yeah, that's the biggest challenge that we face here. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Innocent. From Carol, could any of the panelists talk about some of the other barriers to finding a job besides English proficiency being a major challenge? How were they able to overcome some of the challenges?
I'll take that. I think like from the get-go, and this I've seen time and again between the immigrant community and between, because I'm Congolese, from to the Congolese community, there is this common understanding that, whatever work experience you may have had back home is irrelevant when you're in the US, or whatever education that you may have, whatever school you went to is irrelevant. And always put people to the challenge. It's like, look, I can do math really well. And I don't care if I'm in Congo or in the US or in Europe, 1 + 1 is 2, right? So that's how I see it. And so I think too many people don't really take stock of the transferable skills they have, and that can be utilized in this new environment. Yes, there are challenges. There are, new challenges will be thrown at you, but you have to really understand what are your strengths to begin with. Do you have, ability to learn new skills? Are you open to learning? Can you improve upon the basis on which you have? I think taking stock of that positions you to what direction you want to go, and also have your goals clear. I think my friend Innocent pointed out to the issues, like once you get into the workforce, you get into production type of work. And if you have like maybe, a previous education, maybe, it's really hard to get away from that environment. And there's nothing wrong on a work, any type of work, but people have different aspirations in life, right? So if you get into one type of job, it may not be what your life aspirations are about, but you need to do the job because you have bills to pay, you have obligations to meet. And then setting time aside from 12-hour shifts to finding time to educate yourself to go, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of time. And most people don't have that. And I think the way I look at it, during that time when you're waiting maybe for a work permit to be issued, it's the time that needs to be capitalized the most. It needs to be utilized to the best that, I'm not sure how to put it clearly, but my point is, it is a time really of introspections and evaluating where you're at, and what are the resources around you that you can utilize to prep for that time when you're ready to enter the work market, and what to do. And to answer a previous question, one asked, what was there? I think, resources available. I think there are many resources. My first job was at a job fair in South Portland, and I think those are helpful. But you need to go there being ready, being prepped. I met a guy and he said, "Oh, you seem interesting. Do you have a resume?" Right then there, I emailed him from my cell phone, and he was like, "Whoa, I'm impressed. I'm going to get you an appointment tomorrow. Can you come to my office?" And I went in, I got the job. And that was a month before I was actually had my work permit issued. They offered me an internship, and until my work permit was issued, they were able to pay me. And I never had an issue because I knew what I was looking for. And I think people need to be prepped during the time. And that's just my take on it.
I love that, Andy. Rashna, you have your hand up.
Hi. Andy's right. It is a lot to take in. So for me, language wasn't the barrier, right? It was not a barrier, but there were so many other things. Like there's a lot that goes on, learning new skills and interacting with so many different people. The agencies that we all work with to, get our resumes ready, and it is a lot, and then getting to know people. So sometimes we don't get the chance to get to know people. We are just doing or learning in order to get a job. And back to innocence, what he was mentioning before is that there's a part of it that is about building the trust. Trusting the person or giving them a chance. So I think the barrier there is, and maybe it is because we are built that way to see, like when we see someone who is different in any sort of way from us, it stops us right away. And I see in Maine that more and more people are coming together to take that chance. And I think that I would still like to see more people, believing and being able to trust people to do their job as long as they are qualified to do it.
Rosalie?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that there's one thing that we need to keep in mind. Many of the new Mainers, especially those coming from Africa, maybe in my region, they were not all working like in a formal setting, like in an office or in schools. Some people were very successful at their own businesses, maybe working in the market or selling in the street. They were very great at what they were doing, good customer service skills, something that is very different when they come over here. They don't have a resume, not because they didn't want to have one, because they were working in a very informal setting, so they didn't need a resume at all. Maybe some people didn't go that higher in university, but they have their high school diploma. They were very great at whatever they were doing, maybe in the tailor shop or the shoes shop, whatever small business they were doing. So when they come here, they have to adjust something that is now taught, even though they can go take a job class. It's more about people who are already working, who know how to do a resume, work online, but some of the people, they don't. It doesn't mean that they don't have the skills. Even if you go work at the hotel, in a restaurant here, it's all formal for me because you have to go through the same process of hiring, interviews, providing paperwork. So it's not very easy for everybody. If they can adjust, because back home, selling in the market, it didn't have to be in a super, like in a grocery store, like Hannaford, because we have big open markets where somebody comes and set up her stuff. There's no control. Nobody comes in. The money comes in and goes. So they have control over their own businesses. But when they come here, there's always somebody controlling everything. There was always somebody asking for something very official. And we were not used to that. So one of the things that people do not get job easily is they don't know how to respond to this need. And they have family. The way shift has set up here, it's not easy. They have to change shift between the husband and the wife, and changes how when the kids go to school, when they come back, we're not allowed to leave our kids with the neighbors before they can turn 15 or 13. So it's a lot of things that we are trying to learn to, because we are scared for the government might come after us if we do this. We don't have the right information. And that is something that is preventing so many people just to get out there and apply easily for whatever job they would choose.
Thank you. Are there any other participants that have questions or comments out there?
Yeah. One comment, it's about the single woman, the single mom, that they are coming here with 6 or 7 kids. This mom basically has her own daycare, and cannot be on the top of the job and having so many appointments with the kids and appointment for herself and being at the job, being present because I'm doing a lot of interpreting for the school system. and it's always complain why the kids are not on time, why the kids are not because they are minor, they're, as Rosalind mentioned to it, someone has to watch the kids when the mom gets sick, so doesn't have any relative, doesn't have anyone here. So no one can give a hand to this mom. And then obviously it's going to have a great impact of that finding a job that, so after 2 or 3 weeks, as they were fired them. I said, because you are not there.
Thank you for sharing. Hi, Sally.
I interned at the Multicultural Center, and I remember Gomri from those days. And one of the things that Sarah and I have noticed about teaching online, so I teach on WhatsApp, which is a cell phone program, is that moms with little children can now come and learn English with us. And I don't care if the baby is crying or if the mom answers me and then the baby answers me with the same thing. And it's like so awesome. So it's one of the good things one of the few good things that have come out of the pandemic is that parents with children can continue to learn English. And one of my concerns is that so many of my students, so I teach the highest level of English at Hope House, and so many of my students are drafted into the workforce, and then they never continue their English education. And this is such a mistake because I'm only at the advanced intermediate stage. So there are 3 more levels above mine that would have them become fluent. And so it's important for people to remember Portland Adult Education offers classes at night and in the morning, and they do what they can to be available in the hours when people are not working. But the most important thing to get ahead in a good job is to improve your English. So just listening to Innocent tonight, now, he was in my class, and believe me when I say his English has improved dramatically, and I'm so proud to listen to him. And I know he will be successful because he has worked very hard at improving his accent, and his vocabulary is fabulous. So, Innocent, good for you.
Hello.
Good job. Good job, yeah.
So, Amberlyn, as I know we're wrapping up here, so thank you all for this great conversation. I don't know if we'll get a chance to get together like this again, but I just wanted to remind everybody who is left here is the journey is on both sides, and the employers have to make as much effort as the folks looking for jobs. If you want your workplace to be multicultural, put your toe in the water and talk to Rashna, talk to Amberlyn, talk to other people who are maybe they're not there yet. And my workplace isn't there yet either. But this is the beginning. It's the first step is getting the job and getting the person hired. So I just encourage everyone to think about all of those next steps. And there are so many resources out there now for people to learn. There's, we can all continue to have conversations, and but this is, Maine, we need each other. We need immigrants for our economy, and they need and want to work. So it's on all of us to figure it out together. And I just want to thank Propel and Amberlyn and Matthew and the Chamber and all of our speakers and attendees for coming together tonight for this conversation.